And we are live with the Jaylee Show. Welcome back, and thank you for all the comments and stuff I've been having over the last few weeks. Thank you for all the suggestions of guests. I'm trying to get through to everyone. It's everyone's awfully busy, as you know, at the moment, but we are adding a load of guests to the lineup. So thank you for all the suggestions. Please keep them coming in. Enough of what was, let's talk about now. Today we have the wonderful, wonderful Heather Monahan, best-selling author, keynote speaker, TED talker, entrepreneur, and founder of Boston Hills. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Not too bad at all. Not too bad at all. So Heather, we were talking beforehand. It's been a hard time for all of us in business and at home. To be honest, let's be honest. So how have things been from your side?
Things are good. I launched as my speaking career abruptly ended in March. I launched my first ever mentoring and executive coaching program in May, and it's been a really rewarding experience.
So is that a difference and a departure from what you were doing beforehand?
Yeah, the majority of my business was traveling around the country delivering live speeches, and now essentially what I'm doing is live coaching instead through the computer.
So is it, and that's what that's what I meant. Is the content different, or but now on more of a one-to-one level, or are you having to? Did you have to change everything that you were doing from the speeches beforehand?
It's more, when you're delivering a speech in front of thousands of people, it's much different than when you're mentoring someone. So my past experience was as a CRO in the media business, and I did a lot of one-on-one development with my sales managers and the executives on my team. So this is more back to what I was doing back in corporate America.
Sure. It's amazing how many businesses have had to make that change and had to make it. But you say it's been rewarding. It must be nice. I too have been on stage, and it's great. I love the exhilaration of being in front of a bunch of people. But the value of speaking face to face also completely different and fantastic in its own right. You say you've gained some value from that recently. How rewarding has it been?
Well, the difference is when you're speaking in front of large crowds, you're not getting direct one-to-one feedback, and you're not getting the follow-up and follow-through that you get when you mentor and are participating in executive coaching over a month or months. You're able to watch the pivots and progress and development of an individual and get that feedback weekly.
And how have you been helping businesses?
So, the disparity in regards to the individuals that I'm working with. I work with a lot of CEOs,
Sure.
so there's some that just don't have revenue generation experience or are struggling with culture now working with employees remotely. So we work on, more how do you support and lead a team during these new times. Some people I'm working with around diversifying revenue streams and growing revenue streams. And I have a stay-at-home mom who wants to get back into business and launch, an entrepreneurial career. So there's so much difference in the individuals that I work with. It's really hard to just, put them all in a box.
But it's amazing when you get to work with across industries like that, because you learn such little nuggets from here that's really useful over there. That I find it, when people are stuck in just one industry and, I am an expert in this and only this, and I'll only work with property, I'll only work with one. There are other solutions and other things out there which are hugely beneficial to all industries. And I get the same thing. We run a marketing agency. I get to work with everybody. Everyone needs to market themselves in one way or another. But it's amazing how you'll find something in construction or property which is completely useful for an influencer, or the same mindset, the same processes can be used across everyone you speak to. So how did it, I guess the change in the infrastructure must have been a nightmare to suddenly put in place. Doing that over 2 months and when lockdown is rife must have been beyond it. But how do you go about, right? So how do you go about acquiring new clients for a new package that quickly?
So there's a couple different things in regards to selling anything right now in the climate that we're in. You've got to offer 100% guaranteed money back guarantee. You are not an ethical business, in my opinion, if you're not guaranteeing your work. And so that's one of the things I take a lot of pride in. I've done that since day one as an entrepreneur. Frankly, I had a problem with my past employer that they wouldn't offer that to clients. And as I look back now and look at their stock price, I can see that there's a direct correlation there. If you're not willing to back up your product wholeheartedly and stand behind it, why should I do business with you? So that's sort of my mantra as an entrepreneur. And so taking that attitude, taking those deliverables to market, you're tough to beat when you say, listen, come work with me. I guarantee the results. And if you're not happy, you get your money back. But let me show you the social proof. Let me show you the case studies. Let me show you the testimonials in regards to the people that I've impacted and the changes that they've gone through.
And as a salesperson in a previous life, like having the confidence in what you're selling, that you know that it's 100%, that you know it's not like, will this work for you? Nah, yeah. I've not been able to sleep when I'm selling products like that. When you know for a fact, not only is there 100%, the company believes 100% that we can do this, but also if it doesn't happen, it's, we'll give you your money back. So important right now, especially with everyone in their different, economic states.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm testing different marketing initiatives for my business. I'm only choosing to work with people that, honor that same type of guarantee, because there are so many new emerging strategies right now in regards to how to promote and reach clients. And obviously innovation is really critical, and I want to test and try different ways. But yeah, I definitely choose to work with people that are willing to put their name behind it.
And that's when it gets wonderful in business, when you get to the point where you get to choose who you work with and decide which ways to go. So a lot of our listeners are going through the same thing. Everyone's struggling to either rebuild their business or, a lot of new businesses are trying to start up in this time, as their plan was anyway. If you're getting out there, if you're trying to sell, what are some simple practices people should be looking at? What would you suggest to people to do to start to bring their business to market?
Well, number one, you have to know your brand story, tell your brand story, right? There's got to be reasoning behind it. What's that why of your company, and getting really clear on, what that mission is, and showcasing it and articulating it in a very clear and concise way is very important. That's what people will ultimately identify with, and know that they can, trust you and do business with you for whatever that track record is that you have, or reason behind your company. So one, is the brand story. Then two, what problem are you solving? What pain point are you going to resolve for people, and how can you highlight, showcase that, and ultimately your testimonials, your case studies, and social proof to show that there's proof behind, that you actually deliver results, and what does that ROI, look like. And then of course, asking for the business, and, where is that conversion mechanism? I've just recently started utilizing Shopify, which has been, it's a great conversion mechanism. Currently for me, that's what I'm really leaning to. Previously, I had been sending business to my website or
Sure.
via email, but I find it, the conversions happen much more rapidly, as well as allow for a lot more tracking.
If you're sending them straight to an e-commerce shop, and because it's someone's purchasing something, that's very simple but very brilliant all at the same time.
Yeah, the analytics are really helpful too, so that you get to learn more about the consumer journey, and obviously the touch points where you can affect them, we can follow up and increase your closing percentages.
What I really liked that you're saying there is ask for the sale. So I see it so often. I get so many messages from people who, connect and pitch straight away. They're sending a long list of things. They haven't looked at my profile. They have, but when I am speaking to people, I'll take people through a sales process. If they're trying to sell me to, I'll give them buying questions, especially if I'm interested. I'll let it go out. And how many people just don't actually ask? Or if they do, they're like, yeah, so it's good. You haven't talked money, haven't actually done the close. But how people are uncomfortable with asking, right? People, it's as simple as that. How do you get people past that?
Well, number one, you have to believe in the product that you sell. That's the biggest issue I see with sales teams is that, and this goes back to guarantee, if you guarantee your offering, you guarantee results, how could you not feel good about the product or service that you're offering, right? And if you do have a disconnect where you say, and I've heard this from a lot of salespeople, I don't believe that my product actually works. You've got to detach from that. You can't sell something that you don't really believe in or that you don't want to stand behind. So, identify with a company or a brand or product or service that you do wholeheartedly believe in. And it's much easier. It's not about you when you shift it to making it about the consumer. And when I know someone has a problem that I can solve for them, I'm doing them a disservice by not offering it to them, by not asking them, and make it about how, the social proof that you have, the testimonials that you have, the case studies that you have. Wow, look at the impact I've been able to have on these people's businesses. It's not fair for me not to ask this person to, jump on board and purchase this product.
But what I love about that is it brings back the equality into sales. You're not, bothering people. I'm not, I shouldn't message them back. I should message them back. I need to get a hold of this person because I can solve their problem. I've worked in places where I felt that. I've worked in places that I haven't, and I've worked very, very hard to make sure that where we are now is exactly that. I only get in touch with people we can help. It's as simple as that. I think I see a lot of pushback, funnily enough, from what you're saying. I see a lot of pushback in the sales community. I think because so many people are stuck in that position where they're not selling the product they can believe in or that they can stand behind and know, like, hi Heather, I'm here to call about and I'm help, which I know can help because they just don't have that, and it's a tired old script they're working from. So
well, and to that point, it sounds very cold, the process that you just described to me. So one of the recommendation points I would give someone is really invest in your personal brand, invest in your presence online, because when I'm reaching out to 90% of the people I'm reaching out to, it's not cold. They know Heather Monahan. They know what my brand stands for. They know my track record. There's a high level of trust when I get on a first phone call with someone that I don't have to break through that cold, first cold call. And no one, everybody has that same opportunity, right? It's about taking the time, making the investment in you and creating that personal brand. And once you have that developed and launched, it makes selling anything much, much more seamless.
And I speak to a lot of businesses and tell them to do that within the business. If you're a salesperson within a business, that you want to help them cultivate their personal brand. It's helpful, even if they, have this great brand that moves on. That's not part of the problem. You should have an environment you want to work in for longer. But creating that personal brand, how if someone's never done that, how does someone even start to put themselves across?
Post, right? And when the most important thing, and I learned this, I was on Gary Vee's show in November, and he gave me a great piece of advice. He said, yes, you've developed a personal brand. Yes, you're active. However, you're not posting with enough frequency. I upped my frequency of posting, let's say 10x that day. I used to post maybe twice a day. I typically post probably 10 times a day now. So I've done that with frequency since November, whatever, 7 months or whatever, 8 months it is now. And my profile views have grown exponentially. I just ran a report and saw 10 million profile views since November. And there's very specific reasoning for that, right? So it's directly correlated to an increase in content. That's very simple. Now, is that work? Yeah, it's a tremendous amount of work. It may be very easy, but it's also time consuming. So you want to create content. Typically, when I speak to people and I share with them, you're either not creating content, you're not creating valuable content, you're not putting the time in. You just take the time to sit down and create something that's worth being consumed. So people will say to me, well, that's easy for you to say. You have, this business experience I don't have. Okay, then share my post. Share someone else's post you like consuming until you become comfortable doing it. So that's where I like to start people. If you don't feel comfortable or confident creating your own content, share someone else's that you do like until you begin getting familiar with or feeling that, okay, now I'm going to actually create a post and share something I have to say.
And then if you want, an easy step to creating content is comment on, and I don't necessarily mean only just comment on in the post, but that's a nice way of starting to find your voice. But also you could create a video or do a post where it's not only just a share, but say, I saw what Heather said here, love it. What do you guys think? And start to just see if you can practice some of the skills needed to, I always say it, be social on social media. People kind of want to post one thing once a month and get a million hits, and then when they do post something and they get 3 comments, they don't reply. Like, you got to be social. You have to be out there. If someone's taking the time to comment, the least you can do is respond. And okay, that's not possible for all of the comments, because as it gets bigger and bigger, it becomes more and more impossible. However, you can comment on a few, and you can let your audience know that you're engaged with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, it just goes back to putting the time in, right? Because I get it. When I'm posting with the frequency that I post, I can't respond to all comments. And you're right. People don't like that. I see a lot of times haters will come on my feed and say, she's not responding. And yeah, it just comes down to, you have to evaluate your return on your investment. How are you spending your time? Are you monetizing your time? And for me, I allocate a certain percentage of my day to social media, to creating content, and to responding. But then after that, I'm in meetings, for the remainder of my day, and I'm not available to do that. So, I think it's different for everybody. They've got to make that decision for themselves. But it really is important to build that community to get back to them.
And that's it. It's about the priority. It's understanding that. And I was speaking to someone today actually about it. I was just who has a huge sales team of people, and they're not really using social media at all. It's a recruitment business, and their phones are always warm. And I was saying the same thing. You can make people's lives easier once they start to understand this. Like it will be good for them. But to start off with, 15 minutes a day. Do 15 minutes a day and scroll through your feed. And if you're seeing the same people every day, how about going onto a hashtag and scroll through that and see if you can connect? But you need to start to get anywhere. So which are your favorite platforms?
LinkedIn is, without a doubt, my number one platform. From my experience, it's just simply the easiest to grow and engage. Instagram is very difficult, very challenging. If you don't spike with their algorithm, in the first couple of minutes that your post goes up, it disappears. For whatever reason, LinkedIn does not operate that way. Even if I just do a text post, there will always be some level of engagement. The platform is just so much more user friendly in my experience. So I definitely, LinkedIn is, I'm all in for LinkedIn.
Me too as well. I also find it's the nicest community. As it was, as traditionally was always a work-based community, there is certain kind of protocol. Now, it's not always the case, and there's on every platform, there's always some hater or some idiot. But I just find the general community is a lot more open to saying, hi, why are you connecting with me? For this reason. Oh, okay. No, thank you. Whereas every other platform, I don't know, it feels intrusive to be messaging people about B2B on Facebook or Instagram. That's where I go to relax and follow people, etc. So you're saying you're posting 10 times a day. Now that, I'm guessing, is a myriad of different styles of content, or is it all video? How do you get to a point where you're releasing anything close to that?
Yeah, I mean, people don't have to do that, right? So I'm an entrepreneur, so it's a little bit different than, when I was in corporate America, I posted 10 times a week. I didn't post very much. It was I had a different initiative and goal back then. To me now, my business is directly correlated to my profile views. There's, I gain a tremendous amount of business directly from LinkedIn. Yeah. So it depends how, what is your goal with the platform? What is the reason why you're doing it? You need to evaluate those things as to what are you trying to gain from social media. Sure. For some people, it's just, creating trust awareness, whatever, in a more general sense. And that's fine. So just evaluate, what is, for me, it drives actual revenue. For me, it's a revenue stream. So figure out what is the goal, evaluate that against the time that you're going to put in. Then you need to start testing things, right? There's nothing static about business. There never has been. Unfortunately, some people believe it, there is, but it's on you to innovate, right? So I'm constantly working with different people, consulting with different people that are experts in the field. Typically younger people, I'm 45. I like working with really young people around social media because they have very different ideas than I have. I definitely have more traditional ideas. And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And that's the beauty of it, right? So I'm constantly testing different things. I had never really leaned into just text heavy posts, which have done very well, for certain people. So I'm really trying to spike that on my feed now. Just anytime I have a thought, around business, I just go right to LinkedIn and throw it on there. For many people, video has done incredibly well. For me, video does okay. What I found that works for me and my brand is images with text. And that's what's working right now. Will that change? I'm sure it will. Right. So it's about, just constantly trying to add value, figure out what's working, reevaluate and repeat.
And that is the thing is there is no, we'll do this year. There is no that plan in social media. I wish there was. It would be sweet, it would be so cool. So do you break it down? If it's 10 posts a day, like you say, not everyone needs to do it, but it's just a nice number that we can break down, right? If you're doing that and you're looking at 50 posts over a working week, are you saying that we're going to do, I know I'm going to try and up, say, text posts. So I know I'm going to do 4 or 5 a day, which are going to be text. And then video content, as you say, taking a bit of time to create good content takes time. So are you having in-depth planning sessions at the beginning of each month to work out, and then obviously the churn of content? We recorded this last month. This is for release in 2 months' time.
Yeah, so I don't manage that. I have someone that manages strategy for me specifically for LinkedIn, and Sunday is the day where I get the content calendar from him. And, basically he's advising me, here's what I want you to try. Here's why, here's some ideas. And then of course I can go in and edit that and, put my own spin on it or whatever. But yeah, I have someone that I work with that is giving me direction. And that's just, I invest in myself because I want to get better. I want to grow my business. And I know that I can't just do that on my own. I've got to defer to people that are experts in this arena.
Surround yourself with the best always. Don't be the best person in the room has always been my, always. I like to be the person who's like, oh, one more time. If that person works for me, that's what a wonderful, wonderful situation. Which isn't, thankfully, is mostly the case because my co-founder is hugely, hugely smart. With that, then, the question always comes from how people get started and how they even begin to sort of that seems like a lot of work, like you said. You find someone to work with. It's not possible necessarily to do it on your own. That's the simple case. Is it's not possible. When people look at Gary Vee, look at yourself, it's not a possibility to actually deliver that amount of content and have a job. I understand how influence can do it if they're self-shooter directors, editors, but that's still a full-time job, absolutely, for them. How did you go about finding the right person for that? Because I'm sure you have very much your own ideas on what you want to get out, but how do you possibly find the person to hand that over to give you the strategy?
I've cycled through. I will be an entrepreneur for 3 years on July 27th. So I'm approaching next week. It'll be 3-year mark. I've cycled through 4 different people that I've been working with. So listen, sometimes you have to try things. Gary's got a huge team of people. I mean, I don't know, 20 people that he works with that are supporting him on social media. I don't, I work, I'm obviously much earlier in my process than he is. And so until you get to a level in which you're able to make that type of investment, you're gonna have to try some different things, and sometimes it'll work and sometimes it won't. And at the end of the day, it's going through your lens before you post something, so you can be the final decision maker on what this doesn't resonate with me. I'm not going to post that, or I will. And sometimes people are doing well for you and supporting you in a great fashion, and they stop delivering because maybe they're owning a small company and they're getting busy with other things, and you constantly have to reevaluate. evaluate, wait a minute, am I getting the level of support that I initially have been getting? This was working, it's not working. I'm going to have to move on and hire somebody else, which is actually what happened to me last month. And now I'm working with someone new.
And it's always, I was at VaynerMedia back in October, I think, of last year. And it's amazing how many people just specifically work on the content I have consumed watching Gary Vee for a couple of years. You know, there is a full couple of tables of people just working on it, and seeing that's relatively daunting. How do you possibly get to the point where you're releasing enough content to it be profitable? Thankfully, the answer I've found is, as you said, text posts. There are ways and ways of getting yourself out there. If you can find a way to release a video a month and then check it, and as you said, it's the analytics. It amazes me how it's just how much analytics you can pull and use effectively now versus marketing 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Well, one of the things that the analytics have really provided me is insight into the value of shares and reshares. And previously, I was not aware of that. So I really repositioned some of my content now to focus daily on shareable content, because that really spikes your following.
Interesting, because I've heard so many people say sharing's not the thing, it's all about comments, but actually seeing your network share it has really pushed numbers up.
Oh yeah, I mean, actually, and if you don't currently have it, I would definitely suggest investing in an analytics platform for LinkedIn. I use Shield. There's many different solutions out there, but what I do is once a week, typically on the weekends, I'll sit down and I'll evaluate, which posts are spiking, how many shares I'm getting, and how does that correlate to audience growth during the week. And when you start analyzing those numbers, it depends what your goal is, right? So for some people, you're saying they're not interested in growing audience. They're just interested in engaging with the existing audience they have. That's their directive and goal, right? So figure out what are your goals and then really dig into those numbers to find out, what that right strategy is for you to achieve your goals.
Amazing. Heather, I could talk to you all day. We try and keep these at 30 minutes so people can watch them while they're working and not jump into their day too much. But obviously, there's a huge amount of value by following Heather everywhere you can. Your podcast is great, by the way. I've been listening to your podcast for the last few months. It's absolutely wicked. So, Heather, if people are going to go out and find you, where can they find you?
Oh my gosh, you can follow me on LinkedIn, but you can't connect me because for some reason LinkedIn maxes people at 30,000 connections. So you can follow me there. You can get me on Instagram, Facebook, on any platform at Heather Monahan. My website is heathermonahan.com. My book is Confidence Creator, and my podcast is Creating Confidence with Heather Monahan.
Amazing. Heather, thank you so much for joining us on the Daily Show. And thank you everyone who joined in and watched this. We'll respond to some comments after the show and let you know. But thank you very much.
Thanks for having me.